I'm Lacey. I'm Lacey Wilcox. I'm on Emily Burgess's team. I'm an Emerald. I am going to talk a little bit about taprooting today. I'm going to share my screen here for you guys. I don't know if I'll be able to see the chat, so please feel free to mess or just talk. Also, is there anybody new on here? I was going to ask that. Any new golds? Yeah, Jan. Congratulations. You were waving. Yeah, awesome. Cool. Welcome. Cool. All right, I'll share my screen here. Oh, and Amy's new. Welcome, Amy. Okay. I always forget how to do this. Share screen. All right. Too many things up here. Okay. I can't see anybody, so I hope you guys can see this. If you can't, somebody talk to me. All right. Okay, we're gonna talk about taprooting here a little bit. I feel like when people say taprooting, they're like, ooh, that's some crazy secret sauce. Like there's some big, like, I don't know, secret to it. And there's not, you guys. I think of taprooting as just like any other duplication, just at a deeper level. Okay. So we're going to talk about what it means, like why you do it and when you do it. Who do you look for? Like the type of person maybe you want to look for. I do have a message example and then give you some little things at the end here. So taprooting literally means like it's the root of a tree and it's the most dominant root of a tree. So basically, root systems can be very massive, right? They just go every direction. A taproot is actually the one part of the root that seeks deep down, trying to find all the water and nutrients. So it's just very dominant root. It's stable. If the wind blows, it's not going to just knock the tree over. So really what we're doing with taprooting is we're really just helping somebody tap into their market, or we're kind of bypassing somebody to tap into their market because they've decided they don't want to share, or they decided it's not something for them. So why would we do this? When I think of this, I think of like, maybe you're stuck, or like there's just nothing happening on your team, right? There's no action, there's no, like the threads aren't chattering, there's just nothing, like there's no excitement happening, right? Maybe you're going to use it to motivate some teammates. I have some three-way chats I'm in where the one person's pretty quiet, but they do kind of get excited when all of a sudden we've added a few people under them and they realize, or I can explain to them like, hey, you just got a paycheck. Like, that's awesome. You just, like, I had a girl last month where I was like, you just went fast start silver. And she's like, whatever that means. And so that was a good reminder to me to just explain like we use our terminology, but I was like, you just made $400. Like that was awesome, And so that made her more excited though, to keep sharing also, because she was like, wow, that was kind of fun. And literally all she did was put me in some chats, and I kind of helped in those three-way chats and guided her along the way. So those are probably the two biggest reasons that I like when I think of taprooting. As golds. So as a gold, I as a gold didn't even know what outside leg points meant until I probably didn't know what that meant until I was an emerald, you guys. Like I just never paid attention to it. I didn't need to know what it meant. I had enough of them, I guess. So it just was never something I worried about. But as golds, we need 15 outside leg points, which typically is pretty easy for golds to get because most of us get to gold on our own, right? And so we usually have a wide enough base that we're getting those outside leg points. But all that means, outside leg just means that you kind of have your primary leg where maybe you have multiple people sharing on that team, or it's just deeper team. And then your outside leg points are anybody outside of that primary one. So not probably super like important for you to pay attention to now as gold, but as you get to be like ruby, senior ruby, and jewel level, it can come into play because some people kind of struggle to have those outside leg points. But that might be something in the future that you're like, oh, I need more of these outside leg points, I'm going to start taprooting under this person who's like maybe phasing out or just gone quiet. It really creates a deeper, strong team, okay? Because you are maybe bypassing one or two levels of somebody who just isn't interested in sharing, or maybe they're kind of quitting the business. Maybe they were sharing, or they just never wanted to share in the beginning. And so you're kind of tapping into their network, which is going to make you a very deep team. Now, you don't ever want to stop growing wide, right? We always want lots of level ones so that we have a very wide base, but it creates a very stable and strong team when you're also deep. And that's where residual income comes into play. Like all of a sudden you're like, wow, like I don't even know, I mean, we know where our money's coming from, but essentially it's like, wow, where is all this money coming from, right? Because you have that residual income that just keeps building. And it can lead to massive duplication if you tap into somebody and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this person is a leader. Like they are somebody that, I really relate to, and, they're motivated and they answer my messages. You might find that person that is very just self-disciplined and self-motivated, and they run to Jewel level or run to Ruby or whatever it might be. Okay, so get into the how a little bit. Bob Heilig, he has a video from like 6 years ago, so it's quite old, but he said this quote in here, and it was, you don't work with people, you work through people. And so I kind of like that, because I was like, well, that's true. Like if you have let's say you have a level one, that's just so when I went Emerald, I had 2 senior golds on their way to Ruby, just kind of phase out slowly. Like they just weren't really like sharing anymore, posting, maybe doing some customer care here and there. But I was like, oh man, like I want to keep them going, obviously, but it was just life timing and whatever. So I started kind of diving into their team a little bit. And that's what he means by working through people. You might not like have much conversation with that level one anymore, but you're just kind of tapping into their network. So, but basically it's just kind of like what I think of doing anyway, when I'm looking for people to duplicate. Who can you connect me with, right? Can you put me in a 3-way chat? 3-way chats in my book are like awesome. Like I love when people put me in 3-way chats. I love when and when they do their check-ins in there too, because it's so easy for me to sneak in there and say, that's an awesome win. Is there somebody else that we can share that with? Or can you do a first post? And so sometimes it's almost like you're kind of almost taprooting, and not like you're, still helping that biz builder, obviously, but sometimes you can get pretty deep in there. Yeah, so basically you can start working directly with that person. Like when I've done this with people, and I'll show you the message example I have is coming up, but she's at the girl, I think she's like my level 3 or 4. She I asked her to add me to a 3-way chat with a friend that she added. And I've asked her a long time, like many times, and she just isn't really interested in sharing. But what happened was she added me to the 3-way chat. So I started chatting with her downline, and then like that level 3 left the chat. So I knew she wasn't interested. That was fine. No big deal. But then I'm really working, like I'm doing a lot of hand holding and like working with that person like they are my level 1, because they're interested in it. Like she wants to share. And then starting little fires and multiple legs. I think, I don't know, like if you feel stuck, or if you feel like there's just nothing happening on your team, I think a great place to start is, if you're in 3-way chat, start there, because you already kind of have a relationship maybe with some of those people. But if you're not in a lot of 3-way chats, like it's okay to like start. I always friend people on Facebook just so they start seeing my posts, because you have to build some of that trust and connection with people too. But it's really good to just kind of start those little fires. Like don't necessarily just focus on this one team, maybe message a few people from a few different teams under you, or as a gold, maybe you have a few different level 1s that already have one person under them that's a great place to start. Like they only need 2 more people to go silver, right? So that's a great way to kind of duplicate that way. How I feel like this is like there's a million ways to make $1 million, you know, that little saying. I don't feel it like how I do this is not necessarily like the best way to do it or a genius way. I really think it's just like you would ask anybody else that you want to do the business with you. But it does, like, taprooting can be time consuming because you're probably going to ask 10 different people and not get a whole lot of traction from it. Like you might be in a lot of conversations that go nowhere. And like, yeah, you might feel like you wasted a lot of time, but also I also think like you're still making those connections, and hopefully you're friending them on Facebook or Instagram and they're seeing your posts. But you have to build those connections. Like I really think you have to relationship build, because just like any other person, biz builder, whatever, and even a level 1, any of our customers, like they trust us, right? We want to have a good relationship with us. We want them to continue to take the products and still, you know, what am I trying to say? Relationship is important is what I'm trying to say. I do a lot of like, when I do message somebody that's, you know, in my downline that maybe their uplines aren't, you know, doing anything, I'm very much hand-holding, you know, giving lots of baby steps. Just like I would if it was a level 1 that's like, hey, I want to share, right? It's really the same process. It's just that it's somebody maybe in a lower level. I think the difference is that sometimes it can be very motivating to maybe that level 1 that doesn't want to share when they start to see like what's happening. And I think also being very open with that person and being like, hey, I know you're not interested in this, but so-and-so is. This is what can happen if, you know, we get them to silver, or, you know, you're going to get those points too. So you're going to get a little paycheck also. And just making sure that they kind of know that. And just releasing them if they're like, nope, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, okay, that's fine. And then just always dripping the business and opportunity and just giving them those little baby steps on what they can do next. Okay, I wanted to talk about who, because I like when you get to it, well, especially even so golds, let's say you have 20 some people under you, right? And you are kind of like, you know, where would I start? I think as a gold, when you have that group of people, honestly, you could ask everybody, right? I think when you get to have that bigger team, like when we're rubies, senior rubies, jewel level, we get kind of these more massive teams, and it's like, where do I start? Like who would I even ask, or how do I go about doing that? But I think just like, what do we look for when we want like business builders, right? We want leaders, right? So we want people that are quality people. You know, I'll do a little research on their Facebook and just look at their, like, are they even posting? Do they even use Facebook or Instagram, whatever, any social media? And it's okay if they don't, but you know, sometimes you'll come across those people where you're like, wow, they're already sharing like these awesome recipes, or they're sharing about their kids or their church family. And, you know, they're adding value to me already. And like, they kind of maybe already they seem like very wholesome people, right? So maybe they're already successful. That's actually this message I'm going to show you. Why I tapped into this person is because her upline is I can't remember if she's a PA or an NP, very successful already. They all work together at the same like hospital or clinic. And so they're medical. I'm like, I want that girl on my team. Well, she's been telling me no forever. So she added a friend here not too long ago. And so I've really been trying to just dive into that and get to know that person a little bit better, because you never know, you know, you can never say the wrong thing to the right person, right? So you just never know. Maybe you can tell from their posting, or even just your chatting with them, that they have an energy or an excitement, and they're coachable, like they're willing to learn. This girl, right away, when I told her about adding 2 people, and I also told her, this was last month, about the iPad incentive, like that really piqued her interest. She was like, oh, crazy. She keeps reminding me that she's like 30 some weeks pregnant. So like, she's not like, going hard at it by any means, but she did. I mean, she was like, yeah, I've already kind of told a few friends. And so she was just very coachable. Like, it was very easy for me to be like, okay, this is, what you need to do. You can post, you can talk to people, you should do all of that stuff. Look for people who respond to your messages. They're very positive people. They're commenting positive. Their posts are positive, not like negative stuff. You want to look for people that you want on your team, right? You don't want a lot of negativity and people that just maybe aren't going to add value or bring value to your team. Okay, so this is the message example I was talking about. So I'm going to use names because otherwise I feel like this gets confusing, but Jamie is somebody who just isn't really interested in sharing. I've brought it up to her many times because she's I can't remember, NP or PA, works in a clinic. Very successful. She's a mom of 2 or 3, just very like relatable. Like I have fun chatting with her, even though she's just like, I don't have time for this now. So she added her friend Kendra. And Kendra, so I just sent a message and just to introduce myself for one thing, just to let her know that I'm here because her upline Jamie isn't like, I knew she's not going to check in on people. She isn't interested in sharing. So I knew she's just not going, she's never going to ask that question like, hey, do you want to add someone? Do you have any friends? This Kendra ended up actually signing her sister right away. So that's Carly that you read in there. But basically all I did with her was I said, these are your options. So you understand what it means when you sign someone, you can get that one-time product credit. And then I told her about being a brand ambassador. I was voice messaging, so that's why it came out Brandon Bassett. But basically told her that she could, get cash for it basically. And then I said, if you add a couple more, you're going to make over $400. At some time in our messaging, we talked about the iPad and all of that. And so I just told her like, you're going to continue to get paid on these people. And then I made sure she upgraded right away to brand ambassador because she already had added her sister. And so I just wanted to kind of get that ball rolling. And she was very willing. She's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. She, like I said, just very coachable. Not everybody's like that. Like I said, probably for every 10 people that I introduce myself to or kind of like tap into my downline, I might get 1 or 2 that actually are like wanting to do that. But that's very typical, right? You guys, like anybody we met, like that's normal statistics for our messaging. Like we might send 10 business messages and we might get 1 or 2 responses. So that's just very normal. So I prompted her, I said, what about doing a first post or like a shout out post and shouting out her friend Jamie, even though Jamie has no interest in sharing. Part of that, I was like, well, you might get Jamie interested in sharing if you just create that FOMO a little bit. Like, what is she missing out on? She's got friends doing this and making a little bit of money. She could be getting a paycheck too along with it. I have in the past, like I will have sometimes that conversation with my level 1, like, hey, just so you know, your friend so-and-so is gonna share. Do you want, some people don't want to be like shouted out and that's totally fine. But I do think it's very respectful to ask first, especially if they've like bowed out of the conversation. Jamie she created our 3-way chat and then she left the chat. And so I was like, well, she really just isn't. She probably just feels like she's getting too many notifications because we were chatting a lot and just wasn't interested. And so I do think it's very respectful to just send Jamie or your level 1 that you're kind of going through and just saying, hey, like, are you okay if we, and say, we don't have to put you in the post. We just, you were a part of this. And so we don't want to leave you out if it's something that you want to be a part of. I don't know. I think it's respectful. I think it just helps. And I don't know, most people don't care. I feel like the few ones that I wasn't sure of how they'd respond were like, oh yeah, that's fine. Even though they still are like, I don't really, want to share myself, but that's fine. So this is just one example. It's kind of just a real basic shout out first post, nothing crazy. So I kind of found this quote and I kind of liked it. Lead a large group of people to do a few simple actions over a sustained period of time. So that's duplication, right, guys? That's all taprooting. That's all it's about is duplication. We are like, that's what we're trying to teach our teams to do is duplicate, right? Teach your team, your group of people, a few different things, maybe the ATM, like ad tag message, following up with people, getting them watching some trainings, and do that over a sustained period of time. And you're going to see that growth. And I think this is my last slide, but just, I think we overcomplicate this. And like I said at the beginning, how we think of taprooting as like this, it's like this big secret sauce, big secret, I don't know, there's some big recipe for it. And there's not. Like, it really is just messaging people, getting to know your team, right? Because if you're tapping into somebody, like that person's already on your team, like we should kind of want to get to know them anyway. And so just introducing ourselves. I don't have like an email that goes out to everybody that joins my team or anything like that. And so that's my way of like introducing myself and for people to see my face and know that, oh, okay, this is a Plexus person, because I'm probably going to be friending them on Facebook or following them on Instagram, just so that I can start building that relationship and creating that connection in hopes that someday they'll be like, hey, yeah, why don't I make a couple $100 doing this or win the spa gift card this month or whatever it might be. So you guys probably your teams probably have a system, right? So just asking for that, for who can you connect me with? Like, who do you know that needs to sleep better or needs more energy, or they, need to take naps every day and they can't do that because they're home with their kids. Doing a first post or like a shout out post and then asking to do some type of event. That's kind of our system on our team, I guess, or that I kind of follow. But like I said, I'm sure every team, you guys probably have a system, and it's probably very similar. And then that's kind of all I had, but I want to ask if there's any questions. I'm going to stop sharing. And I didn't see any of the chat. So if there's questions, you guys are making fun of my North Dakota accent. How do you say it? Root.
Hey, Lace, somebody private messaged me, and I think that this is actually a question that would benefit maybe hearing from you too, because I think in your message to Kendra had already signed somebody. So that was your connection with her. But when you reach out to your people beyond level 1 and you add them on social media, do you have a certain type of message that you send out to those people if they haven't added anybody?
Yeah. So I don't really complicate it. If I'm going to send it to like a level 3 or 4 or something like that, I'm introducing myself. I'm like, hey, I saw that you got, ordered, and I might say something about whatever they ordered, like, oh, love that you're trying active or something. And I think just keep it really simple. Just introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm not sure if anybody's shared this with you yet, but you have the ability to make, $300 this month by sharing with a few friends. And so I tend to just say something like that, or say, even, are you interested in like getting your product costs covered? Because some people, like, there's a lot of people that, I mean, you guys know this even from just regular business reach outs. It's not like people are looking, some people are, but not a lot of people are looking for a full-blown business, right? But if they can make a couple extra $100, that's all they want. And some people do they're like, yeah, I just want to get my products paid for. But you never know when you're going to find that person like myself that was like, yeah, I'll get my products paid for. And then I made $500 and I was like, well, this is awesome. Let's just keep going. So like I said, like you guys have heard, like, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. I think just asking, just getting lots of messages going, I think is helpful. Does that answer that question? Sort of.
Yeah. And I think, like, I didn't necessarily go that route. I think I went more, because she went more like, this is the potential. I think when I would do stuff like this, when my organization was a little bit smaller, It was more of like a connection, like Lacey said in the very beginning. So just another example for those of you that are asking, like another example would be, I would connect with them and I would ask first, my level one, is it okay with you if I, reach out and welcome myself or welcome this girl and introduce myself? And if they say no, because there's some people that feel really uncomfortable with that, or they know that that person would not feel comfortable with that. But if they were fine with that, then I would just connect and say, hey, my name is Emily, and I saw that you just ordered some Plexus products. This is kind of my story. I've been here for X amount of months or X amount of years, and I started for this, and I noticed these changes, these positive changes. I'm really, really excited for you. Do you mind me asking, what are you looking forward to with, health changes? If there's anything that you need at all, I'm here, and I would love to guide you and help answer any questions that you might have. So I kind of would go that route too.
Yeah. And probably the difference between an Enneagram 3, I'm like probably too business focused sometimes. Like those connections are really important, obviously. But I just think like if I have a chance to ask somebody that, and again, they might ghost me or whatever, but at least I've kind of made that connection and they'll maybe start seeing some of my posts or that type of thing. Okay, I didn't look. If there's questions in the chat, you guys gotta yell them out because I didn't see any of the chat.
Do you see Amy Price's message or her question?
Oh, how do you handle customer care if they only want to get the bonus? You mean customer care of those? What do you mean? I don't know if I'm understanding.
So like when you add someone and you offer the opportunity, say it's your level one, and you offer the opportunity to refer 3 and get the bonus, and they, strictly say, I am not interested in a business, I do not want to handle it. How do you handle the 3 under them, or 4, 5, 6, whatever is added when it comes to customer care?
Yep. So I feel like what I'll do right away is I will tap into those people, or at least make a connection with them. If I'm not already in like a 3-way chat with their person and those people, I will ask that person like, hey, do you mind connecting us? Like there's a lot of things that might get missed, or detox is really common. I want to make sure that if they have questions, they can ask somebody if, you're unavailable, whatever. And so I try to make those connections right away. And there are times when like I've kind of taken over customer care for some of those people, because you will have those people that kind of just drop off or phase out, or that's all they wanted, and that's fine. I think it's kind of up to you and how much time you want to put into it in a way. Like I was willing to like do that extra work, but it's extra work, it's more people added to your plate to check in with. Yeah, I treat people like they're level ones. That's what I do until I get to a point where I'm like, oh, my customer care is out of hand. And then I'm like, oh, I need to get better at this. But yes, 100% worth it. Any other questions? I appreciate you guys hopping on. Okay, well.
Hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Oh, are you still talking?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
I just had a quick question about. I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me type it.
You're good. Your kids are cute.
Okay.
I like your picture.
Okay, it's working now. My AirPods were messing up. But if you have a bunch of level 2s, like your level 1 has stopped completely, became an alien and got abducted or whatever. You have a bunch of level 2s that have turned their sub off, and you don't really have a connection with them. Like, would you just text them? And I mean, what messages would you send to those people at that point?
Yeah, sometimes I'll search for them on social media first. I like to research people a lot. And I think it's just for fear of like, I'm going to message somebody and like their dog died that day or something, and then I feel bad. But if I can't find them on social media, I've done that. Yep. I've texted people and just, again, introduce myself and like, hey, you don't know who I am, but I do plexus with level 1. And just wanted to introduce myself if you have any questions. And then I might say like, hey, I saw you turned your sub off. Are you having trouble? Can I help you? I text people. I don't have any fear of that. If they don't, I mean, they might not respond because I might not have a relationship at all with that person. And that's just how it is. But I feel like you got to try something. So yeah,
Right.
Texting, you could email them. We have their email address.
Very true. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Right. Yes. You don't have to pressure them to restart, but I think just like making that connection, and again, maybe they'll kind of start up again because they see you've added them as a friend on Facebook, and they'll see some things and get more interested. So.
Or what I used to do when I had a smaller team too, like I would make that connection like at the day they joined or like the week they joined. That way, when it does come, if it comes to that where you want to like see if you can help them with their stuff, whatever, they already know who you are. So it can be helpful.
Yes, for sure. Hey, any other questions? All right, guys. Well, thanks for hopping on. We'll let everybody get on with their night, but I hope this was helpful. We'll hopefully get the call uploaded and shared to you guys too. Okay, everybody have a good night. Bye.